Why should we pay our taxes when Amazon doesn't? Why should hardworking people pay up to 45% of their income every year when Amazon only pays 1%? How do these multinational corporations do it? Why do they get away with it? And if anything, what do they contribute to society? Let me ask you a question. Who in the audience has never owned an Apple product? Oh, so few of you. And why is that? It's because Apple is known around the world for having engineers who are creative and who have revolutionized technology. But something's not fair about this. The accountants at Apple don't get half the credit the engineers do, despite being just as creative and having also revolutionized something. The way multinational corporations around the world pay their taxes. How did they do this? They invented something called the double Irish with a Dutch sandwich. It's complicated, so I'll simplify it a lot. As it stands, corporation tax rate for Apple and other large multinational corporations in the United States is 35%. But Apple doesn't pay this. Because according to the law, Apple, as we know it, is actually owned by a tiny company called AOI, based just outside of Cork, in Ireland. Apple's international profit is then shifted to AOI, where they pay 12.5%. But it doesn't stop there. AOI is actually owned by another company called AOE, based in Holland. By shifting their profit, they only pay 1.9%. But again, it doesn't stop there. AOE then shift their profit back to Ireland again, but to another company called ASI, and by doing so, they only pay 0.9%. But there is one more thing. ASI then shift their profits to the British Virgin Islands, where the exact tax rate is unknown. It sounds confusing, it is. But remember this, at the beginning of the day, it's an American company. At the end of the day, it's an Irish company with accounts in the British Virgin Islands. It is such a clever system. This method, and others like it, allow Apple and other large multinational corporations to save billions of dollars every year. But if we know how they do it, why do they get away with it? For instance, if the British government wanted to wage war on tax avoidance, well, they could. And as a matter of fact, they would probably get a lot of support for it. But they don't. Because keep in mind, it's not just Apple doing it. It's Google, Amazon, Facebook, Yahoo, Vodafone, Starbucks, you name it, they're probably doing it. Our government is not just letting them get away with tax avoidance. They're actively encouraging new companies to incorporate in the United Kingdom, despite being fully aware of their dubious tax structures. But to explain why they do this, let me tell you the tale of two cities, London and Paris. Both of them are major economic hubs and have a lot in common. But for the past 10 years, and especially for the past 3 years, there's been a mass migration from Paris to London, from France to the UK. And the reason for that is quite simple. France has now adopted the highest tax rate in Europe, pushing thousands of companies to reincorporate in London, while income, payroll, and corporate taxes are much, much lower. And while it has been great for the United Kingdom, for France, on the other hand, it has been an absolute disaster. They have lost thousands of companies, almost 1 million jobs, and billions of euros worth of investment. Chasing corporations for their taxes makes politicians popular, not successful. But this tax exodus is not just affecting France. It's actually affecting most European countries. Take Spain, for example. By sustaining and imposing a really high tax rate, almost 800 corporations moved to London for the same reason. These corporations, including Santander, a Spanish bank built in Spain, named after a Spanish city, worth over $100 billion, now based in Camden, in London. Chasing corporations with taxes makes politicians popular, not successful. But in turn, this tax exodus is creating a domino effect, one in which highly skilled and educated workers leave their own country to work in London, where the money is, and in turn create wealth in London instead of their own country, encouraging more young and ambitious workers to go work in London, perpetuating this cycle. Chasing corporations for their taxes makes politicians popular, not successful. So we know how they do it. We know why they get away with it. We know why French corporations left France to go to London, and we know why Spanish corporations left Spain to go to London. But why? Why does London welcome all these corporations knowing they will probably never pay the full tax rate? Because as a matter of fact, out of the top 100 corporations in the United Kingdom, only two pay the full tax rate. So what is going on here? If they're not even paying their taxes, why is London welcoming all these corporations with open arms? Let's go back to Amazon. Amazon is known for its books. My favorite book is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Because when I'm in a bad mood or had a long day, my girlfriend reads it to me. And it calms me down, it cheers me up. Anyway, my sister is getting married in a few weeks, and I thought, what a better gift than the ultimate anger management tool, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. So when I'll be ordering my sister's copy in a few weeks off Amazon, our caterpillar is going to have quite a journey. He will first be dispatched from one of the 8 super warehouses Amazon built across the United Kingdom, predominantly in areas that greatly suffered from unemployment, such as Staffordshire, who saw their unemployment rates drop from 18 to only 3% following Amazon, well, once Amazon moved in. Our caterpillar is then going to be handled by one of their 27,000 employees, and then passed on to the Royal Mail. But our caterpillar is not going to be lonely, because he will be with 200,000 other parcels that Amazon ships through the Royal Mail every single day. 200,000. But it's not just the Royal Mail who enjoys Amazon's economic activity. It's other companies such as DPD, Parcel Force, My Hermes, or Yodel. All of them benefit from Amazon's economic activity. And so do writers, singers, and small business owners who can now compete and exploit Amazon's platform to compete on a market they would have never been able to. So how does a caterpillar links back to tax avoidance? Well, although I'm persuaded that the government does not share my interest for caterpillars, they do have an interest in the hundreds of thousands of people who are directly or indirectly affected by Amazon. And as a matter of fact, last week, after months of negotiations, Amazon agreed to pay more taxes. Settling with corporations. Not popular, highly successful. But let's take another example. Let's take Vodafone, for instance. Well, last year, Vodafone injected over $1 billion into our IT infrastructures. And that's one of the reasons why we all have 4G now. The government didn't invest in 4G, Vodafone did. But perhaps 4G is not a good enough reason to avoid paying your taxes. However, maybe dividends are. Last year, British shareholders made $22 billion out of Vodafone shares. These $22 billion were taxed at 35%. And finally, last year alone, and every single year, Vodafone injects $700 million directly into our tax pot. For a sense of scale, that pays for 34,000 nurses. But let's just stop with the numbers. How much is tax avoidance actually costing us? Well, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC, estimates that last year cost us 4 billion. If we take Vodafone and Amazon, not only their social contribution, and by that I mean the thousands of people they employ and the billions they invest into education or pension schemes, not only that number outweighs that 4 billion figure, but the pure economic contribution, and by that I mean shares, dividends, you name it, investments, that number dwarfs that 4 billion figure. So if 2 corporations can make up for that loss, how much are we getting out of the other hundreds corporations? Billions? Trillions? What about the millions of jobs they create? Can we just ignore that? So, you may be wondering why and how does a 20-year-old develop an interest for tax avoidance? Well, I may only be 20, but for 18 of these years, I've lived in Switzerland. A country praised for their chocolate, cheese, mountains, and watches, but hated and despised for their relationship to tax avoidance. Throughout my 18 short years, I have seen how they do it. I've learned why they get away with it. And I've witnessed what they contribute to society. But am I saying that corporations should not pay their taxes? No, not at all. What I am saying is that waging war against corporations is ineffective, counterproductive, and very dangerous. Chasing corporations for their taxes makes politicians popular, not successful. Thank you very much.